Michelle Reed has 47,000 followers and I have 46,000, and she's got millions of dollars and I don't have any. How much is doing something right? Because with social media we can reach millions of people. And our basic theory is there are very few of them. They have a lot of money. We have a lot of people. We don't need money when we can get votes. And we have now seen election after election where when people were energized and motivated, they elected a candidate who supported public schools despite the overwhelming millions on the other side. And this happened just most recently in Los Angeles, where there was a local school board race. And the mayor and several billionaires raised $5 million to defeat one candidate, a man on the school board who had started as Teacher America, stayed as a Los Angeles public school teacher for 17 years, and then ran for school board. So he was independent, he was moderate, but he made one terrible mistake. He introduced a motion saying we have no oversight. Los Angeles has more charter schools than any other city in the country. We have no oversight, we have no supervision. Let's develop a policy to oversee the accountability and transparency of the charters and have a moratorium until we have the policy. Well, that so infuriated the charter people that they raised $5 million to defeat him and to a couple of other people who were running into other districts, but he was the main target. And so he won. He won despite being outspent about 8 to 10 to 1. There was a teacher in Sacramento, which is Michelle Reed's home territory, who was running for school board, and her organization put up the local Students First leader to run against her. He had a huge spending advantage, and she won. So boots on the ground, people, people, people. We have so many people, and we're not mobilized, we're not organized. So the first thing we hope to do with this network is to use social media to get all the grassroots groups around the country who care about their schools, you know, Friends of Public Education in North Carolina, in Mississippi, and in Kentucky, and Kansas, and wherever, and have everybody know who we all are, and have a way of communicating and saying, you know, there's an important race here and here and here. We're still working out the legal problems. We hope to be able to actually endorse candidates. We know we won't be able to match the money of the guys who pour in millions. We don't expect that, but we think what we can do is mobilize people. So we're going to use this to, we're going to design something like our Good Housekeeping Seal of Approval. Frankly, I don't know, does Good Housekeeping still exist? Is there still a Good Housekeeping Seal? Is there still a seal of approval? We're going to have the Network for Public Education Seal of Approval, so that when somebody is running in a district, they know this is the person who really cares about education, and the other guys don't. So what we're hoping to do is to use people power against money power. The theory being we are many, they are few, and people can beat big money. So it's an interesting test of democracy. And so sign up for it. It's called the Network for Public Education. Membership costs $20. We are encouraging students to join. Student members are $5. Organizations join for free. We have over 100 organizations. We only announced this about a week ago, and over 100 organizations from around the country have joined.
Right.
All the work is being done by volunteers. The website was designed by a volunteer. Everything so far. We have no staff. But this is the way we're going to operate, is to show that we can, just based on idealism, which the hedge fund guys think that you must be in it for the money, because they are.
You know.
And that's why they don't understand teaching. That's why they think that bonuses will make you work harder and better. They just don't get it. So we're trying to prove it a point here. Yes, please.
Hi, Joyce Haynes, President, Louisiana Association of Educators. Thank you so much. The luncheon was enjoyable, as well as the repeat tonight. Well, I will say to you that my question is, through social media, would it help us, since we're already preaching to the choir? And usually our folks know exactly what's going on. They are the experts in the classroom, and we're the ones chained out of our capital as we went to fight this issue. We back up to 1991, where we fought Latif Latif, Starr, you name it. At that time, we had a Roma as governor, and we end up endorsing an Edward Edwards as the governor. In the future, we'll have another Edwards as well. We now have a Roma that's sitting at our Betsy board. But I'm asking you, do we continue to tell them the big picture? That is the philanthropists and the Koch brothers on down that filter money to groups like the Institute and Michelle Reed and all that's going on. Do we continue to tell that story in the social media to pass it on to the communities so that they can at least let the legislators know that we know about ALEC, we know about the United States of ALEC, we know about the Koch brothers and everything that they've done to Wisconsin and the rest of the states? Do we continue that as well, or do we just tell our stories in the trenches about the flawedness of Congress?
I think that the story has to be told that big money is trying to steal public education. And that's the story. The American public really doesn't understand it. And this is why it's so important, in effect, to nationalize the issue. Because a lot of people think it's just my community, it's just my state. It's not. It's happening all over the country. And so I think that this is what I try to do. I usually talk about ALEC because people don't understand, they never heard about it. But there's more and more understanding that when a state law is introduced in Louisiana, it was not written in Louisiana. It was written in the headquarters of this shadowy organization, which wants to get rid of everything that's done by the government. They want to make everything in the interest of the corporations. I mean, this young man who was killed, Trayvon Martin, that stand your ground law was written by ALEC. The efforts to take away voting rights from people, that was written by ALEC. The efforts to privatize schools, charter school legislation, written by ALEC. Virtual school legislation, written by ALEC. You could just go down the line. They're attacking, they don't think teachers should be certified, written by ALEC. They want to lower the standards for entry into teaching, written by ALEC. So I think the American public needs to hear the story. That's the narrative. The narrative is they're trying to take away what belongs to you. And it's the commons.
One other piece, Diane, if I may interrupt for a second. Could we also find out whether John White's degree to be a superintendent wasn't written by ALEC? I heard you got it just before you got here.
Diane.
Hey,
Diane, can I add one thing to that?
Yes.
There's one other thing that you can do. It's called green power. ALEC is corporations. Corporations sell products. If you make people aware of what the ALEC's group, who's their sponsors, we've already forced some people out, some organizations out of ALEC's by exposure. But if you start using your green power and you say, no, I'm not buying your product, you stop buying, you get their attention. Because all they care about is money, not democracy. Thank you for sharing this with me.
That's absolutely correct. Yes.
Dr. Stewart, former college educator, receiver of public school students, private school students, charter school students across the state. I really care about public education, where it's going. It's going down the tubes in Louisiana. Why can't we find a means of assessing our students so that they can demonstrate what they do know instead of ferreting out everything that they don't? There are ways to do this, but you gotta want them.
Well, as I mentioned today at the luncheon, Louisiana teachers don't get enough credit for what happened over the past 20 years, and this is the NAEP scores. The reading scores have been fairly constant. The math scores have zoomed. This is not the story you're going to hear from John White, because he didn't do it.
That's right.
But the math, Louisiana made probably more progress than most other states in mathematics. Now, the reason for the difference is because children's vocabulary in their home life has a tremendous impact on their reading skills.
Yes, indeed.
Whereas math is taught in school. It's not taught at home.
Right.
And that's why the schools had this dramatic impact on math scores, much less so on reading. But I think what the elephant in the room, which nobody in this state or none of these so-called reformers like to talk about, is that the single most reliable predictor of poor academic performance is poverty. And they don't want to talk about that because they say, we can't solve poverty. We're just in the school fixing business. I read that right off Chad's Romer's website. We can't do anything about poverty. Well, if you don't do anything about poverty, you're not serious about changing student performance, because the achievement gap begins before the first day of school. It begins in people not having enough food, not having a stable home, not having the basic economic security that allows children to grow up and to have the experiences they need to succeed in school. It also is rooted in not having adequate health care.
Yes.
All these things matter.
Yes.
And to say you're going to roll them out because that's not about schools. You're only going to talk about organizing schools. That's ridiculous. So we're going to have to broaden the conversation. But I think what is going to get the attention of the American public is that what belongs to all of us is being privatized. And it's happened in so many other areas. It's in, whether it's in prisons or in hospitals or other areas. You cannot monetize the children. You cannot offshore them. But then what they can do, and this is where all of this is heading, is to hand out contracts to companies so that there's one teacher for every 100 children, because they're all sitting in front of computers, and that's where they want to take this.
I have one other question. Are you familiar with the concept of academic service learning?
You mean like going out to the community and doing work in the community?
Yes, married to the academic curriculum.
Yes.
Can I have your thoughts on that?
Well, I've seen it work very well. I think that it's very helpful for young people to see people doing real work and to have an opportunity to experience what the world is about. It's a good thing, and I think that it can be tied in quite nicely to the academic curriculum. I think right now we're so weighted down by the burden of testing that it's hard to think outside of the testing demands.
Well, that's for sure. I've got two really good friends that are teachers, and I kept trying to push this on them, if you will, and they're just like, I can't even think about doing anything else other than what I'm doing now.
Right.
And the sad part about it is that there was money for this. There were grants available. It was not even competitive. It was competitive within the state, that every state got money and couldn't even give it all away.
Well, the other collateral damage of testing is that I hear again and again that student teachers say that no one wants them to work in their classrooms. So they're not even getting the opportunity to do the practice teaching that they need to do, because the teachers don't want to take the risk of having an inexperienced person take time away from the test prep. So we're not investing in the next generation, which we should be investing in. Instead, we're investing in Teach for America, and they'll be gone in 2 years.
Right.
Well, just one more brief comment. I was the executive director of the Louisiana Campus Compact, which promoted service learning and civic engagement at the college level. And I worked hand in hand with the Louisiana SERV Commission, which promoted academic service learning at the K-12 level. This money came to the states at the K-12 level from the Learn and Serve America, which is part of the Corporation for National and Community Service. And everybody's heard of AmeriCorps. But nobody ever heard of Learn and Serve America. It's been defunded by Congress. If we could sell K-12 on this concept, because not only does it keep children in school, but children who are working in their communities don't damage their communities nearly as often. So they're contributing members of society. They work right alongside community partners, planning the needed projects in the community. And when they get done, they can think critically. They can problem solve. They can communicate effectively. And they feel great about themselves because they helped to solve a community problem. Who would not want children to learn this way?
Thank you very much.
I just want to emphasize what you said about social media. Before March session last year, almost a year ago, was not very involved with social media until somebody told me about you. And so I started following your blog and your tweets and your Facebook and anybody that popped up on your page. And I think it was through you I found out about In Bloom, which is a new name for an old program. And if anybody doesn't know what In Bloom is, if we could make the public aware of what it is, there would be an outcry, because children's private information socioeconomic status, their disabilities, their health problems.
Their name, their address, and their social security number.
Is going to be given to this company that's funded by Bill Gates, Gates Foundation, and some other private businesses.
Rupert Murdoch.
Yes. It was known by another name called SLC, Student Learning.
No, it's the Shared Learning Collaborative.
Yeah, and now they've renamed it because some attention's been put onto them. And Louisiana is in phase 2, and as a teacher, I have never heard of it before. And I think they're probably going to plug teachers' information into that as well, because we would have an effect on student learning, so our private information would go in it as well.
Right.
When we started in March protesting at the Capitol in Calcasieu Parish, we started Louisiana Public Teachers. Our classrooms are not for sale. It's a Facebook page, and we have 1,700 members. When the Lafayette Parish teachers were, when Abby Grove appeared before the school board, they started a page the next day. They have over 2,000 members, like within 24 hours. Social media is a good thing, because what I post on the Louisiana Public Teacher page pops up on my private page as well, so my friends, my relatives see what I'm doing, and they're being educated as well. So I think social media is the only thing, the only big tool we have right now.
Right.
And it's time to write your legislators. The session starts April 8th. I met with 4 last week, and he said they get 2 to 3 emails a day from the Department of Education. They're getting contacted 2 to 3 times a day by John White and his staff. They talked about the 24-year-old girls that work on John White's staff, and they ask a question, and she doesn't know the answer, so she asked the 28-year-old. This was a senator that told me this. So they need to hear our personal experiences, not a chain email, like how it's affecting us.
Yeah, let me just emphasize this again. Bill Gates, Rupert Murdoch, a couple of corporations have put together, it was first called, she said, the Shared Learning Collaborative. It's now called NBLOOM. For some reason, the I is not capitalized. NBLOOM is collecting data from several states. Louisiana has offered all of its student data, all of its teacher data to go into the data bank. This will then be given over to marketing companies to market your confidential information, so that they can contact students or you to sell things to you. They will have all of the information, all the student ID. Parents do not have to give permission. This probably violates the FERPA law, which is the Freedom of Educational Rights and Privacy.
Yeah.
But the FERPA law, the regulations were rewritten to make it possible for them to do this. So what you should be really furious about is the state of Louisiana has agreed to participate in it. You should let your parents know in any way you can without getting yourself in trouble. If their students' confidential information is being turned over to a data warehouse, which is partially owned by Rupert Murdoch, whose company is in trouble for hacking into the cell phone of a dead 13-year-old girl.